将軍死法重経過を空して衆生の有楽するところなり小天天空を打って常にもろもろの気学をなし曼だらけを降らして仏および大衆に参ず。I'm very sorry. I misunderstand the time. So my wife noticed me what time was. So I was woke up. So tonight I like to explain the Buddha's no. At first, I like to explain mind and the world. Okay, thank you. Mind and the world, or mind and all objectivities, used to be dualistic in the Western world. But in Buddhism, they are one, but two. Two, but one. This is a very complicated idea, but it is, we have no way to explain so. Because both are human concepts. Mind cannot exist by itself alone without objectivities. The all objects cannot exist by themselves alone without mind. If you have no mind, you don't know all existences, the outside of your mind. So, the all objectivities or existences are nothing but your concept. If you have no concept of this flower, you don't know any idea. Or you have no awareness of this flower. But some people would say flower exists by itself without human knowing. That is materialism. It is not correct. But some people would say like this, that perception is only the awareness of existence. Esse percipi. That is George Berkeley's theory. That Berkeley lived end of 16th century and the beginning of 18th century. The most famous philosopher in England, George Berkeley. We are named the city of the Berkeley, near that's Bay Area. That is his name, Berkeley. He said, that esse iste percipi. That
I don't know if that's Latin language. But existence is perceived. If there is no existence without perception, that is his idea. That is, that's idealism. Idealism is one extreme, and materialism is the other extreme. We must go between. That is the middle path. So, mind and matter are not separated, no, but not one. They arise together with, and they are, or not at all. That is Einstein's theory. Mind and matter arises together, or not at all. That was Einstein said. So mind and matter, not only matter, all existences in this world are separated. The other, quite opposite, that's things, existences. That is, common, idea in the Western world, and also all human idea. Not only a Western, Eastern, world. Most of our common people think so. That is realism, we call realism. So, mind exists by itself, matter exists by itself. They are quite different, existences. That is a common idea. But in Buddhism, we don't think so. They are dependent origination. They are dependent duration. They are dependent cessation. They arise dependency, dependent on each other. Mind depends on matter, matter depends on mind. So, they both can exist. When they ceases, they are depend on each other, then one ceases, the other ceases. When they exist, one exists, the other exists. One does not exist, the other does not exist. That is the fundamental theory of dependency, dependent origination. But in this theory, we have big contradiction in it. Buddha taught this kind of dependency at first in Agama Sutra. This exists, therefore that exists. This does not exist, that does not exist. When this ceases, that ceases. He said so. Yes, sir.
Mind is human mind or mind?
Yes, that's of course all that's cat, dog, all animals has that they have a mind. But mind, what is mind? Mind is only a human concept. No one knows what mind is. Even psychologists do not know what mind is. Today's psychology, as you know, come on, please. Today's psychology, we call it No, the psychology without cycle or psyche. No? That which means no, psychology without mind. That is today's psychology. The science of behavior. That is modern psychology. It is science, not, that's mentology, psychology. So, no one knows what the psyche is. Not only that, no one knows what the flower is. I told you many, many times, nearly 100 times before. Everyone see it, and touch it, smell it, and everybody produces their own image of this flower. That image is called concept. So concept, each person has their own concept of this flower. So they know the flower. But their awareness of this flower is concept, not flower. But the people do not know that. So everyone knows, he says, I know a flower, I know paper, I know house, I know myself. But it is impossible. Only ignorant people saying so. Their knowledge, their knowing is only conceptual, happening. It is only conceptual awareness. It is not true awareness. You don't know yourself. You don't know your wife. You don't know anything. But you also have some shapes or some the figures or some images of things. Image of your body or yourself. But image of your children, image of your friend, image of your world. But that is a concept. Concept of a thing is not the thing itself. We have to know that. But many people do not know this very true fact. This is human ignorance, Buddha said. So ordinary humanity are very ignorant. They are very selfish, egoistic. They are very realistic and dualistic. Because they have no wisdom. What is wisdom? I experienced before. I compared with knowledge and wisdom before. All knowledges are knowable. Everybody knows how much you have knowledge. When you know this flower, you know you are knowing this flower. But wisdom is unknowable. How much wisdom you have, but you don't know. Wisdom is knowing of equality. Knowing and not knowing are the equal. So you don't know, that's what knowing is. What not knowing is. So knowing and not knowing are the same. It's equality, equal. That is wisdom. Not only that, that in wisdom we know everything are equal. But people do not know that. They know that, but they are, they are not aware of that because they have no concept in their mind. In wisdom, we have no concept in images in our mind. We know everything with our body, not mind. Therefore, we don't know. We are not aware of it. That is big difference. So anyway, this is mind. This is little or all objectivities, all existences out of our mind. That is called phenomenal reality. Phenomenal reality. Or some entity. Sometimes we say existences. But how about this? Mind is also reality. No. That is phenomenon. Those that mind and matter. This is not only matter only. It is also that's how to say that not material thing. Like a dream, a phantom, illusion. All are phenomena, or that's existences. Not only matter. Truth is not matter. Beauty is not matter. Truth, that's enlightenment is not matter. Body is not matter. But all are, existences. They are, concept. Self is concept. Mind is concept. Everything is concept which you know. You are aware of it. That is concept. Feeling is concept. Happiness is concept. Suffering is concept. Heart, pain is concept. If you have no concept, you don't feel it. You are not aware of pain or suffering. Concept is so important, that in our knowledge, awareness. Awareness itself is conceptual. We have to know that. So, this mind and matter are the same thing. Both are concept. But those are the two opposite. Not opposite. They are those two things or two concepts arises, according to dependent origination. When there is no mind, there is no matter, or no phenomenal world. When there is no world, there is no mind. Mind and the world are the same thing. When we see the moon reflected in the water, oh, that is full moon. That is own concept. People looking in the water, oh, that is a reflected moon. They know that. but reflected moon is in here. Okay? But where is the true moon? True moon is far from here, in the sky. Is that a real moon? No. Who says so? You know, everyone has a concept of true moon in their mind. Moon is just, that's casting the ray, not the moon. Moon is still there. Moon does not come to the earth. Okay? Only a ray, the light, reach to our eyes. Moon is not light. Light is not the moon. So how do we catch the moon? So that moon we see, we are seeing, that is not the moon. But most of the people, that's seeing the moon. Oh, tonight it's a beautiful moon. That is their own concept. Each of us having the image of moon. That is our knowledge of moon. Okay? So this mind and that world are one thing. It is separable. So, do you have any questions so far? Yes, sir.
Do you talk about universal mind?
How many mind do you have? Do you know?
Which day are we talking about?
Individual mind and the universal mind?
Changing mind.
A changing mind. Mind does not change. If mind is changed, there is no mind. If the mind, that's existing or permanent, it is not mind. Mind is not changing, not continuous, not permanent. What is mind? I don't know. You don't know.
Endless. There's no end.
No
end.
No end, no beginning. No origination, no cessation. So mind is very big question. Mind is such. We call it, that is mind. We call it mind. But there is no mind. We call it, that is a beautiful, rainbow. We call it. Everybody see big, pretty rainbow. Yes, I can see it. That is called rainbow. Yes, I know that. Everybody agree. But when we go to the rainbow, there is no rainbow anywhere. It has no substance. And the color is, own sensation. There is no sensation outside of the eye. There is no rainbow outside of our eyes. Where is that rainbow? Okay, any other question, please? This is a very good, discussion. Yes, sir.
Is the purpose of this discussion to enable people to see more clearly?
I think so. Wise man, knows already.
So when you see the world around you all the time, it really should you shouldn't have really any thought about what you're seeing.
Any thought? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no one know anything. But you know that everyone knows own concept.
I mean, if I look at the flower and I say that flower is prettier than that microphone,
Yeah, that's true.
that's not a good thing to really be thinking.
Yeah, that is,
But
I
that's
agree.
prettier.
Yeah, this is prettier than this. Yeah. Please don't be mad, you know. This is yours. This flower is yours. Yeah.
It's
But the
okay.
prettier is the prettiness or beauty is your concept. You know, microphone has no beauty, and the flower has no beauty. You know, only you have a beauty concept in your mind.
We agree.
Yes. Yes.
Something is beautiful.
Yes. And how about some matter? Matter is also human understanding, judgment. It has no matter. No, flower has no matter. So, temporarily, we see it, flower. But where is the flower? Inside of the flower? Outside of the flower? Or between? Nowhere. No flower anywhere. No microphone anywhere. It is like a rainbow. So, you know that you must be free from knowing any sensation, any perception, any conception. You must be free. That is true wisdom. Yes, sir.
How does your mind decide that the flower is beautiful and the microphone is not?
That is human judgment. Yes, each person have a different judgment. I like this is prettier. Some people would say.
Not too many.
Not you. That is own freedom, free judgment. So we shouldn't negate. Oh, you don't say so. This is prettier. We shouldn't say that. Each person has their own judgment according to the past experiences. That's why judgment belongs to individual, free mind. Yes, sir.
In Buddhism, we want to get away from thinking in duality.
Yeah.
So if one thing is pretty, then another thing, that is not pretty. This
Yeah.
is pretty, this is not pretty. This is good, this is bad.
Yeah.
This is,
That is not the things, a comparison of things. That is, that human judgment. It has no prettiness, beauty. It has no beauty. It has no, righteousness. It has no wrongness, falsehood. So people, they think, oh, this is prettier, or this is valuable. So that is human idea for human judgment. Everything has, no substance, no characteristics, no activities, no values, no, looking. Yes, sir.
Well, some judgments cause more conflict than other judgments.
Yes, surely.
You're like, if we can all agree,
Yeah.
we can agree that we're looking at a flower, even so that's a concept.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of trouble if we say the flower is pretty.
Yeah.
Then we run into another kind of concept. which
Yeah,
is-
that's right. But we have many degrees of concept. Value. The concept itself is very complicated. Phenomena. But it is concept. We call it a concept. Concept is human, mental images. This is your images. There is no flower anywhere without your images. Okay, please, any question? This is very good to know. This is very good. When you study Buddhism, you know, that there is no such a theory in the whole universe. No philosophy, no, you know, theory like this in the whole universe. You cannot study this kind of knowledges or wisdoms in the you know, university, college, or any professional school. That's why I like to introduce you, you know, this kind of things. When you become free from anything, free from feeling, free from knowledge, free from understanding, you know, free from any differentiations. You have to, this theory is very, very necessary. You know? So, I'm introducing this kind of things. You know? Otherwise, you have, you know, you are not get out from the, how to say, that discrimination of all beings, or distinction. No? Each being has their own distinction. No, that is the only stupid guy thinks so. Yeah. These people never get off their own suffering of death, diseases, or life. You know? Yes, sir. Bob?
You mentioned before there was a fundamental contradiction
Mm-hmm.
in
Connotation? Yeah.
contradiction.
Or contradiction, yeah.
in
Contradiction.
Dependent origination.
Yeah.
There's a contradiction.
Yeah.
You started to tell that, and then it got. Can you say it again? What the contradiction, fundamental contradiction, and dependent origination?
Oh, dependent origination, contradiction. That is, you know, that's yeah. This is a little, you know, complicated. You know, please, you know, be patient a little bit. Okay.
So we're slowly talking about.
Okay.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Slowly. Okay.
Slowly. Okay. I will say, when this exists, that exists. Okay. How this can exist? Okay. You know, when this does not exist, this cannot exist. So I cannot say this exists, then this, you know, then this exists. So both are not existed yet. Okay. This exists, so this exists. But when this does not exist, this does not exist. So which can exist first? Neither. Do you follow me?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a big contradiction. You know, contradiction of dependency. You know, is this. You know, both. You know, the, you know, help. You know, when this exists, that exists. We can understand that. But how this can exist? You know, this is still not existed yet. So when this does not exist, this does not exist. When this does not exist, this does not exist. So which one can exist, can, you know, come to exist first? Neither. So we cannot say this exists, then that exists. No. That is a big contradiction of dependent origination. That's why Buddha, you know, started, you know, that's a new theory of concept only. Otherwise, he did not talk, you know, the theory of concept only. Everything is concept. Even existence is concept. Non-existence is another concept. When we have no concept, we know nothing. That is more, how to say, perfect theory than dependent origination.
I don't see the conflict because
Complex.
the conflict. I don't see-
Conflicts, yeah.
Because in dependent origination, it's always been that they both arise together.
Yeah, but yes.
Nobody
but,
said anything about first. I don't
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah, but where that two arises together,
Yeah.
it is not in a dependent origination.
No.
No. It is, that's accidental origination. No causes.
I'll have to think about that. Maybe I don't think about
Yeah, cause and effect, okay?
it. Yeah.
Of effect, the arises, dependently, Cause, when cause exists, effect exists. When cause disappears, effect, disappears. But, which, and vice versa, when, that effect appears, cause appear at the same time.
That's why I thought that dependent origination was different from cause and effect. That's what I thought from
Oh, no, that's all causation, dependent origination is dependent causation, we say.
Ah.
Yeah, that's why it is a relation between cause and effect. But cause and effect does not exist at the same time. Does not. Cause and effect do not exist at the same time. No.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And also, cause and effect, effect, it does not exist in the separated on a different time. In the Western causation, cause existed first, then effect come from the causes. That is, not causation. When the cause existed, that cause has no effect. That causes, or cause, the existed, by chance or accidentally.
Well, in dependent origination, maybe we could just drop the idea of cause and effect, say, and then maybe that's what I was thinking. That we don't think about cause and effect. That things arise together. Can things arise together?
Things arise by chance or accidentally?
I don't know.
No such things.
But if the flower arises, then it means that everything else would have to arise with it, right?
I don't know. That is accidental, origination. Accidental origination. It has causes. This is the effect of the all causes. Okay, it has soil, water, sunlight, wind, and fertilizer. Then it grows from the seed and become a plant and a bird, then flower. It is not, that sudden existence arising. It has a causes, long causes. But, flower, and causes are, at the same time. People see this is flower, but the whole, seed is a part of flower. Plant is a part of flower. Everything is including whole universe in it. Sun, stars, wind, earth, everything. Flower has everything in it.
So then we can drop the idea of cause. Maybe I just don't see it, but I don't see.
Yeah, you cannot see it.
I don't see why we have to deal with cause there.
Yeah.
An effect.
Cause is so, that many. There is no one causes can produce effect. No. When we have a matches, okay, and strike the matches and the fire, make a fire. But, when we have no, air, there is no fire, and no temperature, and no, the pressure, and no, some, labor, and no many, the elements helping, producing that effect. Not only one cause can produce effect, no. That causes are universal causes.
Well, if that was the case, then the flower would be just as much a cause as what we call the causes that make the flower. I mean, if they're equally dependent, then there can't be a cause.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. This is a universe itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is called flower. We call it effect, but we call it the causes. Cause and effect is back and front. There is a cause and effect. Everything is here.
I like the concept theory better. It's easy.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Would you talk about, is there a relationship between the concept of original mind?
Original mind, the concept and the original mind. Do you have any idea of original mind? That memory, you mean?
Original mind?
Is it memory?
Well, no, as the original mind being the mind that is big mind.
Big mind, how big?
Very big.
Very big, universal mind. Yeah. That is Hinduism, yes. That's a big mind, biggest mind, that's like a universe. Universe is mind.
Original mind.
Yeah, that is human mind, is a universal mind.
Yeah, and everything is dependent on it.
Everything is dependent?
Or on original mind.
Everything is universal. And it has a universal mind.
And everything comes from it.
No, it is a universal. Even this flower is a universal flower.
But isn't there mind?
No,
Earth?
the mind is it is everything, mind and body, inseparable.
Okay.
You're trying to find a first cause.
Yeah.
Just that there's something beyond what we see that exists, that we can know that something beyond what we can see exists because we can sense it at some point. There's this something we can get to through meditation perhaps, or ways to get there, that you know that there is something that comes before all things that we can see.
Yeah. Do you know that in meditation we have no mind? If you have a mind in your meditation, that is not a Buddhistic meditation. Therefore, in our meditation we have no mind. Only there is, we have a universal mind. That's all. Universal mind is non-aware, awareness mind, non-awareness. So it is universal beings, is always beyond our knowledge.
It's not personal.
Not personal, of course. Universe itself. I become the universe, that's all. So I include everything. Yes, sir?
Aren't we part of the universe, so then we
Excuse me.
Aren't we the universe?
Yeah.
Just like the flower is. So then aren't we also that mind? If you
Yeah, that mind is mindless mind, yes. Is that we have no awareness of mind any, more. But even we are, not knowing or not knowing mind, that doesn't matter. It is same thing. Knowing is only conceptual, that's happening. So not knowing, that is only another different concept, Or knowing, not knowing, both are concept. Therefore, it is same illusion. We must get out from this illusion. That is universal mind, oneness mind, suchness mind, pure mind, mindless mind. That is a true mind, eternal mind, universal mind, mindless mind. Everyone has a universal mind, and eternal mind, and mindless mind. Do not try to try to be aware of it. Try to catch it. If you catch something, that is, on the illusion. You cannot catch universe. You cannot catch, eternity. Okay, you have something? Oh. Okay, any question, please? This is very good. Yes, sir.
Well, it's a little off the track, but on your posters I saw something about the establishment of the Pure Land or the Western Pure Land, and I was just wondering what...
Yeah, that is a good dream, yes. People like it. People like it. Yes, many people wish to reincarnate into the Pure Land in next life. Those people do not know what is this life. They are not satisfied with this life. So they have a better life in the future after death.
That doesn't become an actual, like the Bible talks about the kingdom of God coming to earth.
Yeah.
Different religions talk about the time when that
Yeah.
consciousness will manifest on this earth, and there'll be different centers and
Yeah.
that. I'm just wondering, is that...
That's right. At that time, this world is changed, with the human mind. This world, if human mind doesn't change, world doesn't change. Even God does not help the people. If people, human mind does change. So, on the God say, or that's how say, you can come to the heaven, the God is pray, heaven. That means, that means, that same the world, heaven and the human world, not the separated world, separate world, the same world. And the world and the human mind are the same thing. Change your mind pure. Then everywhere is heaven. Next life and the next life are the same life, same world, same life. And the next world and the next word are the same word. No? So, mind and word are the one. You know? People, should understand correctly. Should understand the Bible correctly. Not, we can interpret the Bible, dualistically, realistically, and egoistically. We must read the Bible correctly. So we can understand God's mind. We can understand God Himself. God and the self, individual, are same person. Some people, interpret it differently, but that is their concept. So I can, I read the Bible from the, beginning to end. There is no contradiction in it. It is wonderful, Bible. Yeah.
How about heaven and hell?
Pardon me?
Heaven and hell.
Heaven and hell is in Buddhism. We have heaven and hell. Yeah. Yes.
We can go to hell in Buddhism?
Yeah. I show you another. Okay.
I had no idea. So that-
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, and now
There's no mention of hell in the Bible?
Well,
The Old Testament?
that's what I said, right, other.
Oh, Jesus.
The teachings, his teachings were never
I
given.
see.
Okay. It's a little prophet, huh? How about that? Okay. I have no speaker. Yes, this is 10 littles of the Buddha, in Buddhism. And this is also the state of the human mind. When our mind, that's become pure, world become pure. When our mind defiled, then world become defiled. Because mind equal world. World is a mind. No? So Buddha's mind is the purest. That is perfection. And the next, the bodhisattva. Bodhisattva. True nature of all beings is bodhisattva. The body is enlightened. Sattva is being. That is, name of all beings. True nature of all beings are bodhisattva. Oh, thank you. Thank you. So that is equality. Next, Pratitya Buddha. This is highest stages of Hinayana Buddhism. They understand all causation, the dependent origination, and understand everything is enlightened from the beginning. So there is no that they understand that everything is individual. So this is destination is their destinations are the self-liberation, freedom of self. Get out from all illusions, all sufferings, all anxieties, fears. So their mind is always, it's tranquil, peaceful. But their mind is only self-mind, not universal mind, own mind. So they have each the person has no worry, suffering anymore. They do not think of other mind. That is, little, limited idea. Shiravaka is also. Shiravaka think of self. They don't know other people.
There's still ego.
Yeah, that is ego. These two are very egoistic, egocentric idea. Everything is my concept. So when I am happy, everything is happy, like that. It is not, only partial way, very limited way. So next stages, that is a human being, humanity. That humanity, no, I'm sorry, Deva is heavenly beings, okay? Heavenly beings. So these heavenly beings is always, looking for the beauty, truth, and good. Little upper than human, level.
Is that just an abstract concept?
Abstract concept, you can say so. All abstract concept.
That's more.
Yeah, this is more abstract, yes. You can say so.
It doesn't become embodied in a person.
Yes.
That's a spirit world.
Yeah, spiritual world, that's right. Good, they are requesting good, that's truth and beauty, So among the human world, that's requesting the good, that is moral, how to say, some good people, like always, helping the people. Yeah. Good is best, quality, like that. And beauty is all, artist, like questing a beauty, And the truth is a philosopher, questing of the, righteousness, the truth. What is the truth? But in an oral concept. That Manusha, that is a human beings, humanity. Humanity, the tendency of humanity is attachment. How about that? I have big attachment, So attachment is a very good some are very good attachment. Love is bigger and big attachment.
I love my car.
Yeah. So, that's attachment is human, that's characteristics. And the next, the Ashura. Ashura is a heavenly creature, but it has a king of heaven, Pindika, something. And he always the fighting with Indura. That is heaven, Hindu god. So Ashura like competition mind. They are always, that's like a competition, gambling, like that, argument. And then Tiryank, that is how to say, stupidity, like an animal. Most of animals are very stupid. They don't know what they are. Monkey does not know they are monkey. Yes, sir.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, I think so. Do you like this kind of thing, to be an animal?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I like, I think sometimes I like to be animal.
Why is that so low?
Yeah, but also, they don't know good and right and wrong. Do you like to be such as being?
That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Then you go around shooting.
So they don't know what beauty, this is beautiful, this is not beautiful.
You
Ugly.
don't know right from wrong. Shoot it, why not?
I wouldn't even think of making a gun if I was living like that.
But David, they're true Buddhists then.
No, I always thought that ignorance was, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Ignorance is well, anyway.
What we're shooting for.
Yeah. Most of animals have no knowledge, but they have a wisdom. Some animals has more profound wisdom than human being. But they have not knowledge like a human being, because they don't know they are animal. They don't know, this is good, this is wrong. They don't know this is right or this is wrong.
But since they're free of those judgments, aren't they more liberated than we?
I don't think so. It is not knowing, they cannot, discern, right and wrong. So, that's,
But aren't they following the middle way, which is following their instinct?
middle way is a little different, we have to know, extreme, this is one, extreme, this is the other extreme, we must, that avoid, these two extremes, then take a middle path, So, now that is middle path is the result of good judgment. But animal has no judgment. That is, huh?
Is there not some Buddha in each animal?
Teaching animal.
In an animal, is there not some Buddha that lives?
Oh yeah, that is that's little different meaning. From the Buddha's complete equal wisdom. Okay? In that his mental state of perfect equality. Everything that which is seemed to be same thing, same quality. Even insect, fish, bird, animal, and not only that, flower, plant, trees, dirt, rock, anything are the same value and the same nature because they have no nature. That's why they are equal. If Buddha has, supreme quality, high quality, we cannot, attain to the Buddha stage. Buddha said, I have no quality, and I have no substance, I have no characteristics, I have no appearance. And also you have no qualities or substance, you have no characteristics, no activities, no values, nothing. Just empty. So I am not different from you. You are not different from me. No? This emptiness is perfect world, true aspect of this world, universe. That is suchness world. Emptiness is suchness. Suchness is Buddha nature. So people call me, calling me that I am a Buddha. Why don't you call yourself as a Buddha? That is, Buddhism. Okay, the other two, that is, this is a P, not R. Prita. That is a hungry spirit. Some, spirit. Some animal, always, that's greedy, very covetous, greedy, and thirsty, and hungry. And some people are the same, always, greedy, and very covetous. Those people, those mental state, we are call it the prita, hungry spirit, or hungry devil. And the last one is naraka, that is hell, the lowest stage, mental stage. In the being, all beings in hell are in anger, and angry. Always, that being mad, crying passion, and hate others, killing. That is, being in hell. Naraka. We have 10 stages of mental stages. But each, the Buddha, that's seeing all stages equally. So he thinks all beings are the Buddha. But the Bodhisattva is a little lower than Buddha. Partially, they understand equality partially, but also they are, trying to attain to the highest stages, which is Buddha stages. And those people always think of the lower creatures, like Shravaka, Pratyeka Buddha, human beings or lower people. And they make them awake, and find out the true nature. Then they realize they are the Buddha, same the nature of the Buddha. That is the being of enlightened being. We have many bodhisattvas Buddha created. Just like angels in Christianity. Bodhisattva has no parent. It is not actual human beings. It is symbolized or personalized, some good virtue of the Buddha. For instance, Avalokiteshvara, bodhisattva is a symbol of the compassion and wisdom. Yes, sir?
Can you talk a little bit about the path to attainment of those levels, of those stages?
Yeah, that is some people, the common Mahayana teaching, all are trying to attain, from the lower stage to the higher stages, But we have, final teaching of the Buddha. That is Ikayana Buddhism. Okay? In that teaching, each one are the Buddha in their stages. They don't need to change their figures or mental state. No. Illusion itself is enlightenment. Ignorance itself is enlightenment. Anger itself is enlightenment. How about that? Stupidity is, enlightenment. That's good. Yeah, I like that. If we have, greed or ignorance, we never attain to the enlightenment. If that is true Buddhism, Buddha's teaching, we have no qualification. we have no chance to become the Buddha, no. Because we are human beings. Yes, sir.
Is awareness good enough?
Awareness is illusion, big illusion.
Action.
All action is awareness. Do you have any actions without knowing? So all, that action is part of awareness. Therefore, that is illusion. Yeah. So the doing something or not, it is Buddha nature, Buddha's conduct. Some people, that I am trying to, practicing meditation, so maybe I am enlightened. No. If they have awareness in their conduct, that is not meditation, not wisdom. Wisdom is unknowable. Meditation is unknowable. So, let's forget everything. Yes, sir.
It says these are 10 realms of living beings.
Living beings, yes.
That's what it's titled.
Yes.
I'm wondering how you define living beings. Would a flower be a living being?
Yes.
And where would it be on your 10 realms?
10 realms says maybe that's Shirabaka? You are very good. Yeah, maybe that Shirabaka is good. Maybe Deva. How about that?
I'm asking you.
Yeah, he's he blooming. It is blooming beautifully. Just like a heavenly people.
So it could be anywhere then?
Depends where you are.
It's that. Depend on your mind.
But does it have an ego?
Ego? Maybe. Ego is very important.
Well,
Yeah. Do you know that? Depend on you.
A table as well?
Yeah, as well. Yeah, depend on the people. Some people think, that this is not, the life in there. It is no mind, no life, no, that's mind, consciousness in it. But that is, that's own judgment.
So are you saying that we can't say where anything else is on that scale? We can't judge anybody else or any
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We have, not only yes, each, stages have another 10 stages. Buddha has, those stages. The Bodhisattva has all stages. And the Shravaka has all stages. Human beings have the stages. No? So, altogether it is 100 different stages. And according to Tendai, Tendai Chigi, that is a Chinese philosopher, very famous Buddhist philosopher. He classified into 3,000. So it is not so, it's, important. Ancient people had much time, to think of that. Yes, sir.
In when as a teacher, when you teach Buddhism, and there's a lot of sects of Buddhism, do you have one sect that, are you cover all Buddhist thought? There seems to be lots of, even here in Santa Cruz, I am affiliated with the Soto, the Zen Center, which is a Soto Zen school, which has a particular way of seeing.
That's right. That's my, that's concept. My understanding is my judgment. So I studied Soto, Rinzai, or Zen, philosophy. But that is my understanding. I don't know that Dogen's idea, Eisai's idea, or Bodhidharma's idea. It is a different person. So I'm talking here, okay? I'm not a teacher. I'm not the instructor. I'm thinking, you are instructor. You are teaching me something, Buddhism. So we are just, everybody is my teacher. But last decision is mine. Okay? How do I understand Buddhism? That is my own, free decision. So I do not care other people understand differently. That is not my problem. Other people have others, understanding. I respect their understanding. I never, oppose to their understanding. Understanding is individual. No? So there is no Soto sect, in my opinion. There is no Buddhism anywhere. That is my opinion. Do you understand that? So I am not sectarian. I studied many schools, that's teaching of many schools, but I do not take anything. No. I only I'm relying on the Buddha's teaching. Buddha is in here, in my mind. So I don't care who says, who established the school. That is their Buddhism. So my Buddhism is Buddha's Buddhism. Buddha is in here. I hope everybody of you are same school. You have one school. That one school must be universal school. You shouldn't copy others, way of life or understanding. You must establish your teaching, your Buddhism. Yeah. Is it okay? That is my Buddhism. So when you listen to me, my lecture, but understanding must be quite different. I know that. If you, follow me, I don't like that. If you copy my idea, I don't like that. You are, the better you must have better understanding, deeper understanding than my understanding. Yeah, you are the universal. I am your concept, that's all. So I do not care you understand or not. That is not my problem. I'm talking here, Buddhism, that is my Buddhism. Okay? You agree or not, that is your problem. So I do not care. You become a Buddhist or not. Yeah. In my opinion, in my mind, everybody is a Buddhist from the beginning. Yeah. They know or not, because they are Buddha from the beginning. Yeah. So that is my that's basic attitude. Okay, each state has another 10 stages. So we have 100 stages in our mind. I have 100 stages, and this stages, our mind go up to the Buddha stages, and sometimes go down. To the hell. Yes, it is really. So, even if, our stages, mental stages, go down, we shouldn't be worried. Because that is the Buddha's stages. It is a perfect stages. Illusion is and enlightenment are not two.
Does the absolute reside only in the Buddha?
Absolute.
Does the absolute only live in the Buddha?
Yes, absolute is the Buddha. Buddha or Buddha nature, we have many names, different terms. We have, for instance, Buddha nature is one, suchness, and Tattvabhasha Lakshanam, that is Jisso, Shoho no Jisso, that is true aspect of the all beings. And sometimes Dhammakaya of the Buddha.
If someone's in the Buddha, can they, as you say, move down to some of the other levels?
Yeah, that's right. Even hungry devil or Naraka, that is hell. Hell is that is a manifestation of the Buddha. Manifestation of the Buddha. We cannot get out from the Buddha's realm. Some people understand Buddhism dualistically. Buddha exists here in high stages. We are human beings staying in very lower stages. We have desires, ignorances, covetousness, illusions. So someday, we that approach to the Buddha's, realm or stages. That is dualism. Those people never understand Buddhism.
It's an illusion.
That is big illusion. No? They cannot attain to the Buddha stages in this life. Next life too. No, next life too. Because Buddha is a universal character. It is perfect nature. No, eternal life. So it is quite different. Human nature never have no chance to reach to the perfection or perfect nature. So they are dreaming. Oh, please help me to take me to your place in next life. No, most of people think so, praying so, but it is impossible. Why? They understand, their nature is the Buddha. Buddha and our human nature are the same nature. Both has no nature. Yeah. Both are the suchness, emptiness, suchness, and Buddhaness. That is the only way, the people can unite with the Buddha. People can become the Buddha. Not going to become, we are the Buddha from the beginning, beginningless beginning. That is a universal nature. We have, that the Buddha's teaching in many sutras. But most of our Buddhists read on this, the certain scriptures, the sutras, and I like this. Then they understand only one spot of the Buddhism. So they are very, limited understanding. They have only a limited and shallow, superficial understanding.
How can that change for that individual?
Change. We don't need to change it. We are from the beginning.
If someone comes to you and says, I am ignorant and I am angry.
For instance, if you say you are ignorant, no one believes that. Ignorance is that is that's not true. Even people, they say I'm ignorant, you are ignorant. But the Buddha say you are, Buddha nature. You know nothing. So believe my word. You are enlightened from the beginning. Buddha said, okay? And someone, we are ignorant, we are greedy. Which do you take? Buddha's word or human words? Yeah. Do not listen to the human, understanding. Only you trust the Buddha's word, Buddha's saying, Buddha's teaching. Yeah. We are enlightened from the beginningless beginning. Our nature is Buddha nature. We are enlightened. Universe itself is enlightened from the beginning. So, we don't need to attain to Buddha food. We are Buddha food from the beginning. Yes, ma'am.
Why do you believe Buddha?
Why do you believe?
No, I just want to know.
Yeah, why? You ask me like that. Buddha
Why
said,
do I ask you?
yeah, that why you ask me?
Because it all makes sense, but
Make sure?
it makes sense that you believe Start.
Yeah. If I say, Buddha's teaching, do you believe it or doubt it? Or why? I like to ask you back. Why do you believe Buddhism? No.
It just seems, to me, it just seems to make sense. And I
Makes sense, yes. Because I believe in Buddhism, because Buddhism is very, very, that is making truth, It is very reasonable. That's why I believe. Is it okay? It is only explanation. Belief is not like that. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
When you say you believe in the Buddha's teaching, is it, in other words, you're believing in your true self?
Believing in, truth,
Of yourself?
truth of self, is that
Truth
right?
of yourself, yeah.
Truth of self or truth of Buddha?
Well, if you are the Buddha.
Yes, I am a Buddha. Buddha is I. So I am a truth. So
So in other words, you believe in what is, who your true self is.
yeah.
Who is Buddha?
Who is Buddha? Buddha said, that I was enlightened under the Bodhi tree. It was only, to instruct the people, who is dualistic and realistic people. If but really I am enlightened, much before, before I was born. Because Buddha nature is a universal nature. Buddha is awakened, awakened man. That is the meaning of, literary meaning of the Buddha, awakened. But people, most of people are still sleeping. So, I am awakened by myself. What is awakening? Awakening. Everybody and everything are same quality and the same nature. That is perfect nature, enlightened nature. That is the true nature of all beings. I was awakened. I woke and I was realized, this kind of truth. So, when I see flower, that is, just like a Buddha, Buddha himself. It is universal. It is the highest qualities. It has a wisdom. It has a compassion. And it is quite free. It is no suffering. It is happiness, true happiness, not comparative happiness. It is universal, life. So that is eternal life. So no different from the Buddha's character. That's why this is Buddha. When he saw that he saw the individual human being, and he understood the same way, in same way. Everybody are enlightened from the beginning. They have the eternal life, universal life, so they have, pure nature. So that is not different from the Buddha's Kakya. That was awakening of the Buddha. So he realized, oh, everybody, because of everybody is so, complete and perfect, the nature, like a Buddha nature. I am the one of them. That is Buddha's equal enlightenment. Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, that is the highest equal enlightenment he achieved under the Bodhi tree. That was Buddha's enlightenment. Only get out from suffering, that is not Buddhism. Some people wish to escape from their suffering life. But it is only part of the Buddhism. True purpose of the Buddhism is become Buddha right now. That is, Buddha's teaching. Yes, sir.
In relationship to that, it's that a true enlightenment cannot be achieved until all beings are enlightened.
Yeah, even achieved or not, they are the Buddha. Achieving is only, that's understanding. Wisdom is not understanding. Okay? When we see, everything and everybody, with our wisdom, we can see their true nature, Buddha nature, directly, without our concept, without our understanding. So some people, that still relying on understanding, but all human understanding are, illusion. So you don't need to understand. Yeah. Trust in your, Buddha's saying, Buddha's, idea.
So when you say that you believe in the Buddha, then that is just like a method, like more of like a upaya. You're saying that because if you are the Buddha, you don't have to believe in anything. You don't have to. So you're just saying that as a method.
Yeah. That human, have many past, habitual nature, habitual tendency, So each person have own habitual power or habitual nature, habitual tendency, or permeation. So, that their understanding, quite different by each individual. That's why Buddha explained it, differently. To this person, Buddha told there is no self. To this person, Buddha said, you have a universal self. But that is the same teaching. So, negation and affirmation are the same, thing, same meaning.
Wouldn't you think that he would confuse people or if he gave this teaching here, that would keep people stuck in that teaching?
Yeah, some people stuck at this kind of discrimination, teaching. Okay, but some people need this kind of classification, categorical, teaching. So, that's bad. Buddha said this is only, that's human mind. The human just they are they understand, people and understand the all that individual individual has own that how to say the nature of or characteristics, or how to say distinction, the nature. Flower has flower's nature. That is human judgment. Most of people understand that. So Buddha they classified those the one mind into 10, and each that stages that's explain it into 10 stages according to the human that's discriminating mind. Human mind is discrimination. That is human nature. So some people don't need this kind of classification. It is, one word is suchness, Buddha nature, oneness. So those people understand directly, without classification, distinction. But most of people have a tendency of discrimination because they wish to understand it. If they don't need understanding, Buddha didn't talk this kind of classification, categorized. So it is a disposition, upaya, as you said. Upaya is tactful means, devices, method. He used many, 884,000 of different methods. Yeah. When he taught one truth, he explained it 84,000 ways differently. Yeah. Because many people, has their own, that understanding. Therefore, good doctor gives the patient, the good medicine. Heavy sick man, he gives the strong medicine. And right diseases, he gives the light poison. Poison and medicine are the same thing. Just like that. All Buddhism are poisonous. People, if people attach to the Buddhism, Buddhism become, that's poison. Because in their mind, in the human mind, it doesn't stay, it doesn't, how to say, digested. It remains, The people attached to, this is Buddhism, That is a big, it's how to say, that the illusion. When you listen to the Buddhism, you must forget it right away. Okay? But in your mind, it becomes your wisdom. So when you need it, it works. Just like knowledge is also. You studied long years, at school, at the society, at the library, then you have so many, so enormous, knowledges. But usually you don't know you have knowledge. Knowledge is not so heavy. But when you need it, you remember it, you can use it. That is knowledge. Wisdom is also. When you listen to one word of Buddhism, when you need it, you remember it, and it works very, actively and very mighty, strongly. Our very, very strongly. It works. Okay, any question, please? I said nothing. You heard nothing. Okay? Okay, next time I'd like to, I wanted to talk more, but maybe next time. Gradually, I like to introduce you true Buddhism, not Bodhisattvaism, not Shuravakaism, not humanism, true Buddhism. Yeah. You will open your Buddha's eye. From now on, you are not any Bodhisattva anymore. You are the universal person. You are the eternal person. So you must find out true nature of yourself. That is the most important problem in your life. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.